Good evening. This is the government's mega cash cleanup, and its impact on billions of Indians has been the talk of the town for over a week now, but there seems to be little respite as far as the Union Parliament is concerned. The seat of policy making log-jammed over the government's cash chaos, and we're calling it Cash 22, the Parliament log-jam right here on ET Now. Thanks very much for being with us, and we've got a power-packed panel with three very eminent guests. Sushmita Dev represents the Congress Party, Pavan Verma of the JDU, and of course GVL Narasimha Rao to defend the government's action from the BJP. Thank you each one of you for joining us, and it's only fair that I begin with the opposition because the logjam is really being seen in Parliament. Sushmita Dev, you're a lawyer by training. You understand the mechanics of this. I'm sure you abhor black money. The question is, this is a crackdown on black money. You may disagree with the means of how it's being done. You may disagree with the implementation. But is this worth keeping Parliament on hostage?
I think it's a very valid question you're asking, and let me start by saying that there's not a single party in the opposition that has disagreed with any policy when it comes to elimination of black money, especially in terror, and that's why the black money bill was passed unanimously by both houses of parliament in the past. But what is happening in the parliament today is not about black money. It's not connected to a stand on the black money. But what we wanted to know from the Prime Minister of India in person, inside the houses of the Parliament, is that he addressed the nation at 8 p.m. on 8th November, and he assured the people of India that he had thought this through, he had planned it out properly, and that this was going to be a game changer. We all waited to see what happened, but what has unfolded is complete chaos. It is quite clear there has been no planning. Every single day there's a new regulation coming out, and it's not just about some small inconvenience which is being connected to being patriotic if you're quiet, but clearly there has been absolutely total ignorance to what has happened to the rural sector, to the farmers, to the laborers, and cash economy is very much a part of the Indian economy. RBI recognizes it. But you have equated everyone's money, even the hard-earned poor man's money, to black money. And in the name of that, you're running this chaos in this country. And all we want is the Prime Minister to come and address both the houses. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Indeed, you want the Prime Minister to come and address both houses. My question is really going to come to the BJP and GVL Narasimha Rao. I think Sushmita Dev makes a very valid point there, that the Prime Minister himself chose to be the face of this entire exercise. He addressed the nation live at 8 p.m. that evening. There are two questions coming your way. Are we making cash sound like a bad thing? Because we are a monetary economy. We are almost making cash equivalent to black money. Is that a mistake that the government and policymakers are making? And the second question really is, and I would want to talk about greater detail just a little later, but you had preparation, according to people in the government, for 6 odd months. Why have we launched ourselves into this operational botch-up of sorts then?
Certainly, the cash part of our economy, the cash to GDP ratio, as you call it, is very high compared to the large economies of the world. And certainly, moving towards a less cash economy, not a completely cashless economy, or bringing it down to a much lower level, will only make our transactions far more transparent, will only make us, enable us to really track the payments, to ensure that statutory compliances, tax compliances are met with, and it'll reduce the prices in the real estate, because there is a large cash component which artificially inflates property prices. A lot of informal sector workers are paid lower than minimum wages because most of the payments are made in cash. So certainly there is a need to move towards an economy where the reliance on cash is reduced to a greater extent. And you have seen over the past 10 days how people who have access to the digital banking transactions, and how farmers having bank accounts have moved towards banking transfers, towards payments, online payments, towards credit card, debit card payments. So we are sometimes, I think there is a resistance from vested interests to allow not this transition to happen. We see a lot of political parties, a lot of groups which are resisting this transfer are doing out of a vested interest. They have sustained an economy where they benefited from a corrupt system. I think it is these political parties which want to perpetuate the black money situation. So certainly moving towards a digital transfers, moving towards cashless economy is certainly a desirable thing to the extent possible, and minimizing cash transactions will bring about transparency and will get in more revenues for the country as a whole.
No, it's indeed desirable. I think the question really is on the implementation and how this could have perhaps been handled better. But I want to take the focus back to the point that Sushmita Dev made when she made her opening comments, which is that the opposition wants in both houses the Prime Minister to come and make the statement. Pavan Verma, this is coming your way. You've been a bureaucrat in the past, and in your present capacity as a lawmaker, the obvious question is that this is being handled by the RBI, the Finance Ministry, the bureaucrats, the banks. Yes, the Prime Minister made an announcement, but is he now morally obliged to be a part of this? Isn't it off him? The implementation can't be his headache alone, or can it?
Well, first of all, let me say to you that we ourselves, while my party has supported the move in terms of its intent, the people of India are actually, in a sense, oscillating between hope and despair at this moment as the scheme is being unfolded and implemented. There is confusion. People don't know how a scheme which removes 86% of or thereabouts of the currency in circulation will actually start to function in due course, and what will be the level of economic dislocation that will be involved. The government hasn't helped, by the way. It has had a series of flip-flops even on policy matters relating to how much you can withdraw, raising the ceiling, lowering it, etc., etc. So I think it's the people of India themselves who are confused, and there is a clear divide, let me say to you, Supriya, on the political class. There is one segment of the political class which believes that if your real goal was black money, attacking black money in that unit which constitutes only 6% or so of the total value of currency is not the most ambitious way of doing it. In fact, that is why Nitish Kumar himself has said that beyond this now the government must move to attack Benami properties. Black money held in form of gold and bullion. Black money is still kept abroad. So he has said the government must go a few steps ahead. So right now it's a transitional phase and there is a sense of confusion, and therefore it's all the more reason for the Prime Minister who announced it himself to provide that sense of assurance by participating in the highest forum of democracy, which is Parliament.
All right, I buy your point, and I buy the point of a united opposition that they want the Prime Minister to come and make a statement on the floor of the House. But GVL Narasimha Rao, Pavan Verma raises an important point. You're attacking the black money, which is perhaps just about, what, 6% of the entire black money economy. What about black money that is in circulation? I mean, big black money is not stacked at home in the form of cash. Big black money is either in real estate or in gold or in circulation in various projects. How do you plan to deal with that?
Supriya, I think the Honorable Prime Minister himself talked about this. This is not the first step that this government has taken. A lot of preparatory work has happened over the last 2.5 years. You've seen this government showing the intent from the very first day in office. We have constituted an SIT within 2 days of coming to office. In the very first cabinet meeting, SIT on black money was constituted as desired by the Supreme Court, while the previous government sat on this for nearly 3-4 years. So you have to look at this, and then subsequently we have had a series of steps. Jan Dhan Yojana was a mega success. We've opened nearly 250 million accounts to ensure financial inclusion for all. Then there was this Foreign Assets Act, the Black Money Act. Then we have had Income Disclosure Scheme. There is a Benami Properties Amendment Act, which has come into force from 1st of November this year. And certainly all these steps, anyone who has really followed the decisions taken by this government over the last 2 years would certainly realize that this onslaught against black money in cash is not the first step that this government has taken, nor will it be the last step. A sequence of events will unfold. So certainly this has sent shivers down the spines of a lot of people. That includes black money holders, political leaders, bureaucrats, so on and so forth. So certainly the government has shown its courage, intent, and also shown the resolve to end this menace. The previous government, if you look back at their tenure for 10 years, you know the Congress government, 15 lakh crores of worth of scams were perpetrated in a manner of 10 years. So a lot of money got generated in that government itself. So certainly when you look at the stock of black money generated over years, and this 6% is a guesstimate based on income tax rates, the actual number could be much higher, but in any case, this is not the last step. This is one of the steps.
Indeed. Indeed, this has to be one of the steps. If it was the last step, then we will have a lot to question on you there. But you raised the Congress party issue, and I want to just be the devil's advocate, Sushmita Dev here, because, you know, while we blame the government for policy flip-flops on this one, while we blame the government for coming out with a new rule, a new norm every day, you know, hiking limits, dropping them, new rules for, new rules for farmers today, for transporters yesterday. But the other way to look at this entire situation is that this is a war room-like situation. The government is reacting dynamically to how things are developing every day. Is that an argument that doesn't cut ice with the Congress party or you in particular?
See, Supriya, I mean, what kind of dynamism are you talking about? I don't know. Because you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that people will be wanting to get married, which will require them to have liquidity. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that when the crops are sowed, the rabi crops. I mean, are you telling me that either the Prime Minister is very intelligent or he is not? Which one is it? I mean, you don't need a huge amount of imagination to know that these problems would have been faced by the common man. Today, what about the daily wage workers who are standing in queues? I can understand the lame argument about, it was a secret and we couldn't let it out, so we couldn't calibrate the ATM machines. But the fact is that, why didn't you have enough cash in supply? You knew the amount of cash that constituted 500 rupees and 1000 rupees, which is 86%. You know that despite Jan Dhan Yojana, the much lauded scheme of the government, 60.8% of India does not have access to banking. I mean, does it take a huge amount of foresight? To me, it was just the Prime Minister's need to go on television to deflect the people of India from the real issues, just for the purpose of that, to go ahead with something which per se is not a bad policy but badly implemented. I'm sorry, all these facts are there in the public domain. I mean, do you want to turn India into Sweden? In Sweden, you can go onto a mountain top and you have internet service. India is still in the process of getting there. I mean, don't always, they think scam and corruption is a magic word. Where does Germany rank? 9th when it comes to corruption, in less corruption. India at 76th, and our cash economies are not very far away from each other. So it's all right to give a soundbite on television, but the fact is, I'm sorry to say, this may seem like a good step towards eliminating black money and money in terrorism. But today there's a news that terrorists caught in J&K are already carrying the 2000 rupee notes. What's your answer to that? It is not about last government didn't do this and last government didn't do that. How are you managing what you are planning to do? That's the question.
I'm just going to bunch some of the arguments that you make and just get a reaction from Pavan Verma as well, and then throw this to GVL Narasimha Rao, because some very valid points there. Why didn't you have cash in the system? You knew this was coming for the last 10 odd months, as people in the government seem to suggest. But Pavan Verma, this is a Herculean task. You've got to give policymakers that credit. You've just got to play the devil's advocate right now, because this is a mammoth task. You're trying to replace 86% of the currency in circulation. We are indeed a cash, a monetary economy. Is your grouse the fact that it could have been better implemented? Are you upset with how botchy it has really become?
No, it is precisely because it's an Herculean task that for a government which said that it took 10 months to plan it, I believe, even keeping in mind the need for secrecy, I believe the preparation and the micro detailing was inadequate. And you can begin to argue this in so many ways. The size of the notes, the need to recalibrate machines, the manner in which the sudden nature of the announcement one cannot question, but the manner in which, in a sense, overnight the economy literally ground to a standstill. So these are issues which I think the government, in all humility and fairness, must answer, and the government has admitted it, incidentally, that there could have been and there needs to be fine-tuning as far as implementation goes. Our plea to the government is, don't stand on prestige. Don't stand on the basis of us against the opposition. You've taken a step which you believe is in national interest. Come out now and listen to the opposition when it at least provides you some suggestions on how to implement it better. There is no prestige involved in an issue that is of national concern. Not the Prime Minister's decision not to come to Parliament, I'm afraid, smacks of a rather narrow vision of the way democracy should function, especially where decisions of this magnitude are under discussion.
This is a sentiment very similar to what Sushmita Dev was talking about. GVL Narasimha Rao, you want to take on the criticism that Pavan Verma and Sushmita Dev have both raised. And the larger point really is, you knew this was in the making for the last 10 odd months. The opposition wants to give you some constructive feedback. Perhaps this is going to make implementation easier. Why not play ball? That's the big question. You've extended deadlines. It's not as if you haven't. It was first the 11th, then it became the 18th, now the 24th. Many people believe you've got to balance things out. Is the government resistant perhaps to the feedback that the opposition wants to give?
Not at all. I think government had been very, very receptive to all suggestions. I think all the changes that have been made, all the amendments that have been made over the past 10 days, 12 days were based on feedback the government has received. One from its own channels and from chief ministers of different states. That includes many states ruled by the opposition parties and opposition party leaders themselves. So the government is not on prestige at all. This is not an issue of prestige. It's a national call. So we see this as a non-political, non-partisan issue. But the problem is, why is the opposition not debating it in Parliament? I think they have only been looking for an excuse not to debate after the first day's debate in Rajya Sabha, because most leaders could not really make any substantive arguments. But if they have substantive arguments even now, they can speak inside Parliament. And outside Parliament, what you are seeing is some kind of photo op politics by Rahul Gandhi, Kejriwal, Mamata Banerjee, which doesn't add up to anything. They are simply not offering any constructive suggestions. I think government is open to all suggestions and also all criticism as far as the preparation is concerned. You see, the announcement was made on the 8th night by the Honorable Prime Minister, and you have 2,000 rupee notes in circulation from 10th November onwards. So people have drawn money. 2,000 rupee notes were available from 10th onwards. They couldn't have been printed on 9th and 8th. It takes nearly 3 weeks to print a currency note.
Sushmita Dev,
all this preparation was going on.
I get your point there, but Sushmita Dev, I'm going to throw this to you. I understand that, and I take your point there, but Sushmita Dev, I must throw this to you. You are accusing the government of an operational botch-up. You're accusing the government of being high-handed. But the accusation that's being thrown back at the opposition, and largely the Congress party, is that there is a photo of politics being played there. How would you defend that?
I think addressing a concert, Coldplay concert, is a bigger photo op. I mean, let's not apply two sets of rules to two different parties and their leaders, if I may say so. I mean, and another thing I want to say, that just for the sake of clarity, and I think this has to be said, is that no one is shying away from a debate. But under the rules of procedure in a parliament, there are different tools. The opposition has chosen something called the adjournment motion, which has an element of censure in it, an element of disapproval of the way the government is implementing this policy. Every time the Parliamentary Affairs Minister stands up in the House and says, we are ready for a debate, we are ready for a debate. But they're not agreeing on the tool that we have chosen, which is an adjournment notice, and every party in the opposition has done it. Otherwise, there would not be so many rules in that parliamentary procedure books, which I think Mr. GVL doesn't understand. And if Rajya Sabha has debated it, and if Rajya Sabha members are requesting the presence of the Prime Minister and his participation in the debate, why are heavens falling for the BJP? This Prime Minister entered this Parliament on the first day as the Prime Minister of India, as a Member of Parliament. He bowed at the steps of the Parliament and said this is a temple of democracy. Today, why is he consistently bowing out when we are asking him to come inside this Parliament and talk to us? So, we stand clear. We want a debate. It must be an adjournment motion. There will be a vote on it, and there's enough information there to say that the BJP is scared of losing a vote. Shiv Sena is not with them, Akali Dal is not with them, and that's why they are avoiding an adjournment motion. So there are nuances to what is happening. And I
Supriya,
hope that the people of India understand that parliamentary procedure entails a lot of things which a common man doesn't necessarily understand.
Right.
Supriya, I think
I get your point there. GVL Narasimha Rao, you want to come in on that? Yes, please.
Yeah. No, why do opposition want to score petty political points? This is an issue of national importance.
What is your view on
this is an
adjournment
issue
motion?
that concerns the common man. This is an issue that concerns the common man. How does voting on a motion, how is it going to change the realities of this action? How is it going to make a difference
Only
to
a
the common man?
non-parliamentarian
You
can
yourself
say
say
that.
common man does not understand
Only a
it. So who are you
non-parliamentarian
working
can
this
say
for?
that.
Why are you interested? Why are you insisting
Then
and
why don't
avoiding
we
a
burn up
debate
the book?
when you could bring
Let's
up all
burn
the
the
issues
book.
that
Let's
concern
burn
the
the
common
rule book.
man in a parliamentary
Let's
debate?
burn the rule book and ask Modi ji to write one. Ask
GVL
Narendra Modi ji
Narasimha
to
Rao,
write a new rule book, we'll all follow it.
This is, I think that's the kind of politics that you pursue.
I must
Rahul Gandhi,
intervene at this
you are
stage.
possibly giving
But
an
GVL
idea to
Narasimha Rao,
Rahul
I see
Gandhi.
that
He's running away
He takes
from
up
Parliament.
ordinances.
Coldplay concert,
GVL
who went to it,
Sushmita
who
Dev,
addressed
I
it,
think I'll
not
have to
Rahul
get
Gandhi
to
ji.
Okay, I have to come in there because I want to shift the focus away, and it's a fascinating piece of argument that both of you are making. One person believes it's about the common man, the other believes there are rules and norms of parliamentary democracy. Why are they not being followed? An adjournment motion is being insisted upon. Why is that not being done? But let's just take a breather from that and talk about the larger picture. And the larger picture will have to do with economic growth. It has to do with economic rationale. Just when we thought that the sentiment was turning, consumption cycle was, was in a robust form out there, things seem to be going downhill. A lot of companies on our channel have come and said that consumption will be hit in the short term. Mr. Verma, do you believe that the government has been oblivious to those concerns? Concerns of dented consumption, dented sentiment, its impact on growth at one level? Mr. Verma?
Well, the jury is out on it as far as I can see. The government seems to be exceptionally confident that in the long term this will be good for the economy. There are other economists who believe that the dislocationary effect of a move of this kind will contract the economy, will reduce productivity, and will have long-term effects which will be deleterious for the economy. The jury is out. I think we need to wait and watch.
Oh yes, the argument is being made on both sides, and so it's important that I pose the question about growth and consumption to both my panelists from the Congress and the BJP. GVL Narasimha Rao, there are suggestions and there are numbers out there that seem to suggest that in a 150 lakh crore economy, GDP growth could be cut by 2% on the back of this move alone. That's 3 lakh crores wiped out from our GDP. Is that a concern that did not play on the minds of policymakers or is not playing on the minds of the Bharatiya Janata Party at this stage?
No, Supriya, if any, there will be a very temporary kind of impact for just about maybe this quarter, but this will certainly have very positive effects for at least next 12-15 quarters that will follow. So 1 quarter, even if you lose 0.5% here and there or 1%, it's not going to affect you in the long run because you will have a far greater, far cleaner economy. You will have much greater growth in the coming months. Certainly, this is a kind of a trade-off. This is a kind of a temporary and a transient kind of loss that you ought to suffer to have your much cleaner economy in the quarters ahead. Look at an economy that where the cash to GDP ratio is likely to go down, where you could have you possibly the gains from this exercise could help you wipe off your fiscal deficit or give you funds to invest heavily into rural infrastructure or maybe poverty alleviation. All that will have greater spin-off effects on the economy for several years to follow. I think a temporary dip in consumption in 1 quarter is certainly not going to have a long-term consequences. This is something that has already been factored into, and government is very confident that the results will be very positive both in the medium and the long term.
You've made some very valid points, but I'm afraid some of your points don't cut ice with a lot of economists that we've been speaking to. Sushmita Dev, do you believe that the short-term gain out of this exercise could perhaps, outweigh or dwarf before the long-term objective, the long-term gain, really the short-term trouble, if I may?
See, Supriya, I'll tell you something. All this has been done in the name of elimination of black money. But the question is, how much of the cash that is currently in our economy amounts to black money? It's a very minimal amount. Most of the black money is parked in property and gold, like Mr. Pavan Verma said. So what I'm saying is, I'm not an economist, but my common sense tells me, then when there's less supply of cash in the economy, there's less transaction, therefore growth is bound to take a hit. Now, yes, I understand that the immediate impact of this policy may have been on terror. The immediate impact of this may have been a big blow to people who actually hoard black money in cash in their homes or in their offices. But I really believe that our rural sector, our agricultural economy, our cash economy, which is the reality of this economy, has taken such a big hit that it's going to be a while before we get out of this and we recover from this. So like Mr. Pavan Verma said, let's wait and see how this unfolds. But that time will come, and I want Mr. GVL and the Prime Minister of India to know that the jury is out, but the verdict is going to come in sooner or later, whether we've lost out more because of this policy or whether we have gained more. Because the cost of implementing this policy is around 20,000 crores itself. So the benefits to the economy should exceed that.
Right. You make a valid point there, but I have to close this debate, and I'm just coming to you, GVL, in just a minute from now. But Pavan Verma, the dialogue on this entire issue, on this entire debate is just so binary. If you support it, you're a patriot. If you don't, you're a black marketeer. Who would you blame for this very binary dialogue at this stage? You can't just blame the government alone, can you?
I can tell you that if dialogue is being threatened in this country, I would, without being partisan, put the blame squarely on the BJP and its acolytes and affiliates. If I support the surgical strike, but I ask a few questions relating to security and our preparedness, I am dubbed anti-national. If I ask questions about the implementation of the act of demonetization, I am accused of standing with black marketeers. What kind of approach is this? I say to you that rarely have we reached a situation of such brittle black and whites, which I put the blame squarely with the BJP. Any form of dialogue is now looked upon with the suspicion which question your bona fides.
All right, GVL Narasimha Rao, will let you have the last word, and the criticism is indeed coming your way that the binary dialogue in India is largely the responsibility of the Treasury benches. You've let the binary conversation carry on. It's a patriot if you support it, you're a black marketeer if you don't. Or if you're asking questions for that matter.
It was all very well for the opposition parties as long as it suited them. As long as they could really do name calling for us, they felt they were very happy about it. Now that the shoe is pinching on the other foot, they are complaining. I think BJP doesn't set the national narrative. It is the people of the country who will decide what is the context in which each party is speaking. Just because BJP says something, the nation doesn't accept it automatically. Or possibly these people now realize that we have much greater credibility with the people of the country. So what we speak carries conviction with the people. What the Congress, when they say we are also opposed to black money, it simply does not carry conviction. Because people have never seen Congress that has been in power for 6 decades take any step of this nature. So certainly we carry conviction, and therefore when we find political parties, when we find some kind of an alliance emerging between so-called pseudo-secular parties and also the corrupt crass of this country, corrupt clout of this country, so obviously we see some kind of alliance emerging among them. The Award Wapsi gang also is back in circulation. Now they want to criticize demonetization. So these are political vested interests which are criticizing the move. The common man is extremely happy about the decision. He thinks this is certainly done in national interest, in public interest, and therefore it's pinching the other political parties when they are really called out to be supporting in favor of the black money holders.
Sushmita Dev, you wanted to make a point there, because I'll have to close it after this comment from you.
Yeah, I just want to say that this whole attitude of my way or the highway, it reeks of fascism. And a part of me feels that liberal thought process is losing space in India since this government has come to power and since this party has come to the forefront. And it's very unfortunate, and I hope that the people of India realize what I'm saying. So there has to be space for dialogue. This is not a country of monologue. Man Ki Baat is monologue. Addressing the Coalpay concept is a monologue. You have to encourage dialogue whether you like it or not, and that's the basis of our democracy.
We do believe a constructive dialogue happens between the opposition on one side and the treasury benches on the other, and we find a way out of this catch-22. The objective, everybody lots, but I think the implementation is what has caused a lot of pain, has pointed fingers at the government for. But thank you very much, Pavan Verma, Sushmita Dev and GVL Narasimha Rao for joining us on our special show, Catch-22. The House is hostage.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.